We begin the next phase of our program with the much awaited interaction session with Dr. H.C. Verma. So now I invite the students and Dr. H.C. Verma to interact with each other, and the students ask as much as you want. Come out with all your inquiries which you've been having for ages, and of course Dr. Verma will have his own set of inquiries for you. Please, you're welcome, sir.
All right, so let me start with question. I had the first question doesn't have name of the student. Okay. Which branch of physics fascinates you the most? I don't know. I don't know really, because in whatever branch I get into, that fascinates me, except electronics. So apart from that, I am fascinated by everything, optics, electromagnetism, and especially when I go for the history of it. This is very important and very enjoying. You go to the history of it. Gravitation, law of gravitation, G m1 m2 by r square, Newton did it, fine. But then to really measure what Newton does, Newton doesn't give you the value of capital G. Newton only tells that it is inversely, is proportional to the inverse square, the gravitation force, and proportional to the masses. But what is that? Actual measurement of the force and the distance and the masses, and from that capital G. That was done by Cavendish. Huh? That was not done by the Cavendish also. The textbook describes that Cavendish did this experiment of this big ball and the small ball and this and that, and from there he found the value of G. He never found the value of G. Go to the original paper of Cavendish. Although from that experiment you can calculate G. All the method is there, you can calculate G, but Cavendish did not calculate G. And his the motive was also not to calculate capital G, but to measure the force. Okay? To come up with a design which can measure such a small force between two some 10 kg, 1 kg type of masses, you know how much it will be. Such a small 10 to the power minus 10 Newton or so. To come up with a design which can measure this, that is the greatness of Cavendish, no less than Newton. Okay? So when I read these original articles of Cavendish, of Einstein, and Young's double slit experiment, everything fascinates me. Daisy Dale Senior Secondary School, Sanjeev Singh, 12. In the decay of radioactive substance, why alpha, beta and gamma does not decay in pairs? Where are you, Sanjeev? Okay, Sanjeev. Your question is, in the decay of radioactive substances, why alpha, beta and gamma does not decay in pairs? First thing, yeah, you can sit down. Now first thing is, gamma ray always come together with beta or alpha. All right? Gamma will follow either alpha decay or beta decay. Gamma decay by itself, it won't come up in general. The gamma decay comes when the nucleus goes to the excited state and comes back. Only then it can emit gamma. But then the nuclear energy levels are mega electron volts apart. So it's not easy to excite them. So just like our photons, visible photons come up very easily from all those CFL and tube lights and all that. You excite them to the excited state. Nuclei is very difficult. But if you have an alpha decay or beta decay, a new nucleus is created at that time. So it is created in that excited state, and therefore the gamma comes. So the gamma always follows either alpha or beta. All right, so they, in that sense, they come in pairs. Alpha and beta will not come in pairs in general, because the two mechanisms are once again different. Beta is when a proton is converted into neutron or a neutron is converted into proton. Converted. Alright, so that gives you beta, plus or beta minus. And alpha is that is a bigger nucleus, and then 4 of them do some kind of separatist activity, and then they say that we want to be independent of this nucleus, and they succeed in doing that. That is alpha decay. So the two mechanisms are very different. Some of the radioactive nuclei find it comfortable to go through beta decay route. Some of them find it comfortable to go through alpha decay route. Okay, Sanjeev? Mukul and Abhishek, RPVV Shalimar Bagh. First of all, your book is very useful. Okay, thank you. To crack competitive examinations. Why do you want to make cracks? Not a good idea to make cracks. Huh? But our question is, why would you not upgrade your books in terms of new advanced approach? There should be given comprehensive passages and questions based on it, etc. etc. These comprehensive passages and questions based on it, etc. When I wrote this book during 1984 to 92, I took 8 years to write that. No examination was there in my mind. Okay, and see, these examination question setters are very clever people. You do 1,000 problems, thousands varieties of problems, objective, subjective, matching, this, that, comprehensive, blah, 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 blah. You do 1,000 problems and they will always set 1,001st problem. And physics question paper setters are even more clever than chemistry and biology and mathematics. Because you must have seen physics questions. There will be a horse running on the road. Chemistry people will not do that. They will always talk of methane and ethane and this acetic acid and this molecule and that molecule and this and that. So they have to work in that limited set, and you can master it. But physics people, sometimes a monkey will be hanging from a tree, sometimes a horse will be there, sometimes some carom coin will be going on the board. So you really don't know what kind of situations they can create. Okay, don't think that by doing too many problems you will be able to crack those questions. You won't be. So don't go on the dress. These are dresses. All these monkey and comprehensive and objective and matching and fill up the blanks, these are dresses. The hidden thing is the person, the concept, okay, the understanding of that topic. So if you have understood the topic, let them dress it in any fashion, no matter. But if you are going for pattern recognition, वो लाल साड़ी वाली, अरे वो लाल साड़ी वाली कल ग्रीन साड़ी वाली हो जाएगी. That is not going to help. अगर आप मुझे पहचानते हो तो ठीक है. मुझे नहीं पहचान के मेरे पीले शर्ट को पहचानोगे तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. Don't go for that. Okay. So if there are, of course, I know that 1984 to 92, I was much less intelligent than what I am today. I understand students better after all these 22 years of interaction. I can do a better job now. But as said, don't look for the examination-oriented questions and don't read with that in mind. Dizzy Dales, Saurabh asks, in case of silicon, the value of potential barrier is 0.7 volt. I told you I don't like electronics. But in case of germanium, it's 0.3 volt. Why? Why? Oh my God. Although both are semiconductors of the same group. You take any two elements of the same group, they do not have similar properties. I mean, qualitatively, yes. If you have 3 electrons in the outer orbit, qualitatively, yes, your chemical reactions, etc., will have a pattern. But then the activity, how activity is in reactions, that will vary as you go from top to bottom or in the same period if you go left to right, that quantitative, how actively it will participate in a reaction, that will be different for any two materials. Okay, so the band gap etc. are not only because of the outer electrons. Group is defined by the outer electrons, right? But when you're talking of bands, energy bands, it's not only the outer electrons which are deciding energy bands. It's the whole electronic configuration that is deciding the bands. And therefore the band gaps will be different if you have Z different, proton number different, and total number of electrons different. Okay, Saurabh? Where are you, Saurabh? Is it okay? Good. Same school, Muhammad Danish. Do you think that the pattern and books of NCERT should be updated at regular basis? Is there any NCERT officer here? If not, I will say yes. Okay, KV people are there, but the NCERT is different from KV. Pattern, I do not know. All right, pattern, I do not believe in patterns. Okay, but the content can always be upgraded. Even concepts of physics, the content can always be upgraded. I can describe it with better examples or better things. I can leave out some things where you can work on it and come out. So those things can be done, but pattern is okay. You have to look for the concepts. See, there are two separate things. One is to learn physics and one is to prepare for the examination. Okay? I will not say that you give less importance to the examination preparation. I won't say that. But if you are giving 100% of your time and effort for examination preparation, then you are losing something. Then you are really losing something. You are losing the fun of physics which is there in understanding it. And therefore, at least 20-30% of time you should devote on understanding the physics without thinking of examinations. 80% you apply your time and effort for examinations. It's must. You in society, you won't be able to tell that I know more physics than this person, although I have scored less. No one is going to listen to you, and you will not be able to really prove that, because to how many people you will show your physics competence. So everyone will look for your grade card only. All right, so it's very important to score very good grades. For that you do your strategies, your patterns, and what kind of questions are to be mastered and solved, how many problems to be done, and all those. I'm not against cramming, I'm not against mugging. Do whatever you want to do except using unfair means in the examination to score good marks in the examination. But reserve 20-25% of your time for real physics understanding, and that's the fun of it. Once it is there, it's a lifetime, it will remain with you. Okay, so make this 80-20 formula. Okay, from the same school, Keshab Rana Bhatt, why errors are always in form of sum? I don't understand. Errors are always in the form of sum, S-U-M, sum. Keshab, can you come here? Acha, you have that mic. Okay. What does it mean? Errors are always in the form of sum.
Sir, I mean to say that why errors are additive in nature.
Errors are additive in nature. All right. Okay. Please sit down. They are not always additive as such. Sometimes you do fractional errors, percent error, and then add. Sometimes you do absolute error and then add, and like that. You mean why are not they multiplied or divided with each other? Okay, so if you are doing A by B and you have an error in A, you have error in B. Alright, so value you say A divided by B, but the errors you don't say C divided by D. Is that the question? Is that the question? Alright, okay, good. Fine, I can understand the question now. See, what happens is errors are always like uncertainties. The better word is uncertainty in the result. Error means I have made some mistake. Okay, I have made some error. Alright. So better word is when you are doing an experiment, you are making a measurement. Then there is an uncertainty because my instrument cannot give me mathematically accurate value. If I am measuring a length to be 2.1 centimeter, my instrument does not guarantee that it is 2.1 and not 2.1 plus 10 to the power minus 3. So that is the kind of error we talk. Okay, so if A, when I am doing A by B, A is uncertain by certain amount, B is uncertain about by some amount, and then I say, what is the uncertainty in A by B? Okay, so that is how the calculations are to be made. Remember, A is uncertain means if you are saying A is 2.1, it can be say 2.05 to 2.15. Then B is say 3.0, so it can be 2.95 to 3.05. What is the maximum error you can have in A by B? So take the minimum value of A and maximum value of B and divide. That's one extreme. Then opposite, maximum value of A and minimum value of B and get. That's the another extreme. Your result will be somewhere between that. A by B will be falling somewhere in between, and this is the uncertainty in A by B. Okay, so this algebra will be very different. You just cannot divide this 0.05 and then 0.05 and say that my error is 1. It's not that high. Your error is not that high, right? If it is 2 plus minus 0.05 or say 0.01. And divided by 3 plus minus 0.01, and 0.01 by 0.01 will be 1. Okay, now you do this actual hard exercise. 2 means it can be say 1.99 to 2.01, and 3 means 2.99 to 3.01, and this, you see what is the minimum you are getting, what is the maximum you are getting. That is the error bar for A by B, and see how it works. Okay. Digidales is very active. All these questions are coming from there. Adnan Ali. In single slit experiment, first central maxima starts from 1 and first central minima starts from 0. Once again, I am trying to understand what you mean. First central maxima start from 1 and first central minima starts from 0. I don't know what it is. Adnam? Yeah, Adnam? What do you want to say? 0 and 1?
So when we calculate fringes, dark fringe or bright fringe, then we take the value of central maxima, central minima equals to 1 or 0.
The counting is always done with the whatever central. If it is single slit, you will have a central maximum. At the center, you will have a maximum. Okay. The next minimum is 1, n equal to 1. Next maximum to maximum is 1. Then again maximum is 2. Again maximum is 3. Okay. So it's up to you how you count. The physics is that there is certain width of the central maximum. Then there is a dark gap. And then again you have a certain width of the next bright thing. And then you have a gap. And then again bright thing and so on. And the central maximum will have double the width of the other bright things. Okay, counting is up to you. Wherever you want to count 0, 1, it's up to you. What has motivated you to write books like Concepts of Physics? All right. Now again, there is no name and no school. It's yours. Okay. What has motivated? Say, okay, this is a long story, but let me do it in a short time. I joined Patna Science College as a lecturer in physics in 1979, 3 years before Dr. Mani started his physics teaching career. Okay, so 79 when I joined there, my college had class 11, 12, BSc and MSc. So I was also given classes of 11 and 12. And there I tried to push the book by Resnick Halliday, Physics by Resnick and Halliday. 3 years I tried. First year I tried, I failed. My students really did not understand much of the physics from what I taught. And I thought that, okay, I'm a newcomer, so I have to improve my own teaching and so on and so forth. Although I had done, from my side, I have done everything that I could do. Second year I tried with even better preparation and so on. Again, it was a flop show. Third year again it was a flop show. After 3 years I started thinking, I cannot be that bad a teacher. Something is wrong somewhere else. Then I realized that this Resnick Halliday physics book, which is extremely powerful, very good, excellent physics textbook, I have learned most of my physics from that book, intermediate level physics from that book. But then at school level, it's all the more important to connect physics teaching with life. And Resnick Halliday book is not able to do that because Mr. Resnick and Mr. Halliday do not know how people live in India. And there I found that yes, I know it. I know how people live in Muzaffarnagar and Bulandshahr and Saharanpur and Gopalganj and Siwan and Chhapra and Calcutta and Delhi. And so I thought, yes, I can do this. Only thing I have done is I have connected this physics concepts, whatever are there, to the way people live in India. And the average is at smaller city. I have not taken metros as my model. I have not taken villages as my model, although there is a spread. But the average will be in a smaller city. Okay, so that is what motivated me to write this book. The second part is what should be done to tackle the fear of physics. Interact with it. As long as you have not met a person, you are afraid of that. But the person is nice, go and talk. That's the only thing. Physics is very friendly, don't have to fear. But if you keep a distance between yourself and physics, and then hypothetically you assume that it's a kind of a demon, okay, it's your job. Interact with him. Come to Anveshika, do some experiments, discuss with people, and the fear will go away. What is the future and opportunities of astrophysics in India? I have a very positive outlook. Throughout the independence, after independence era, all these years, all shades of government has put in lots of effort in bringing up research institutions, including the present government, which seems to follow that same line. And we have good astrophysics centers in Pune, in Uti, then that meter wave telescope. Neutrino laboratory is going to come up, which will be a major drive for astrophysics, right? Once in 5-10 years, if this neutrino laboratory comes up here, it will be a major boost to astrophysics. So I see the future is quite good, and a lot of very good people are involved in this. If you want to interact more, better you visit this Ayuka in Pune. So you can visit the website. They have programs in summers for students and interact with them. Our group in astrophysics is quite strong. All right, and with these newer establishments coming, it will be further stronger. I am really fascinated by this neutrino thing which is coming up. Loreto Convent School. Sir, when did you develop interest in physics? In class 11. Most of you are from class 11? So I developed interest in physics in class 11 when I went to the Patna Science College, where I mentioned the 79 I joined as lecturer. My own 11-12 BSc is from that same college. So when I went there, that time really I developed interest in physics as well as in mathematics. How there is ice present in space? I don't know, bhaiya. So, if the temperatures are low and water is present, it will convert into ice. So simple. We are in a very comfortable distance from the sun, where you have water, where you have ice, where you have vapor, you have atmosphere and everything. But if you increase the distance from sun, the temperature will go down. And if the water vapor is there, it will condense. Yeah.
सर वो जो एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स वाला क्वेश्चन था वो मेरा ही था, लेकिन आपने कहा बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ है, लेकिन पूरी इंडिया में बस एक ही कॉलेज है जो पीएचडी कराता है एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स में, ऐसा क्यों?
बट ऐसा है कि जो पीएचडी होता है ना, उसमें केवल मेजर डिसिप्लिन्स डिफाइन होते हैं. आप ऐसा मत बोलो. एट आईआईटी कानपुर वी हैव अ ग्रुप which works in astrophysics, and from IIT Kanpur you can get a degree in PhD in physics, लेकिन आपका सारा रिसर्च एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स पे होगा. मेरे यहाँ कंडेंस्ड मैटर थियरी होती है, कंडेंस्ड मैटर एक्सपेरिमेंट्स होते हैं. द रिसर्चर्स गेट डिग्री PhD in physics, but what they learn, what they do, what they research is that condensed matter. मेरे यहाँ न्यूक्लियर फिजिक्स होती है. मैं खुद न्यूक्लियर फिजिक्स में रिसर्च करता हूँ, कराता हूँ. आयन बीम्स में रिसर्च करता हूँ, कराता हूँ. तो वो सारे लोग वो करते हैं, बट द डिग्री दे गेट इज PhD इन फिजिक्स. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एक ही यूनिवर्सिटी है जो एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स के अंदर में PhD कराती है. ऐसी बात नहीं है. वो PhD इन फिजिक्स के अंतर्गत तो बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस होंगे जो कि करते हैं. TIFR, टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ फंडामेंटल रिसर्च, दे हैव वेरी गुड ग्रुप इन एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स. इफ़ यू आर इंटरेस्टेड, आप IIT कानपुर में डॉक्टर पंकज जैन हैं जो एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स में रिसर्च करते हैं और कराते हैं, एंड इज सो पॉपुलर. उनके यहाँ इतने रिसर्च के लिए PhD स्टूडेंट्स अप्लाई करते हैं, and he is not able to take them. Sir, I want to know what inspired you to become a physicist when you were a student. I will also like to know how to manage time with the physics subject and indulge in in-depth knowledge of the topic and solving problems. Well, once again I will say that you make friendship with physics and try it out, right? If you make friendship with an unknown person, don't believe in the first go. You have to spend some time, test whether it's trustworthy or not, and if you find that no, this is okay, very good, can be a good friend, go for it. So once you are in physics or in chemistry or in biology and perhaps in literature or anything else also, and if your mind is structured towards that, okay, not everyone will enjoy, that is also true. It's not that everyone who studies physics will enjoy physics, because your mind structure has to be made accordingly. Little bit it can be oriented, but the basic structure should be like that. So everyone will have its own natural frequency of thinking, right? What you like, what you don't like, what fascinates you, what doesn't fascinate you. So you will have your own natural frequency, and physics will provide you some frequency. So if these frequencies are close by, then yes, then resonance will take place and lots of amplitudes will be there, lots of energy input will go from physics into you and from you into physics. But if these two frequencies are widely apart and still you stick to that, So whatever vibrational amplitude you already have, that also will get dampened out. Okay, so in that case, better not to have this forcing and do some independent vibrations. You will you will enjoy life. So not everyone, but yes, if you give it a try, you give it a try for a few months, and if you find that no, you are enjoying it, then you can go deeper into it. So that same thing happened with me, especially when I was during my BSc days, BSc honors days at Patna University, Patna Science College. That time I was really wondering how physicists could come out with these fantastic theories and these fantastic experiments. How could they design experiments and how could they think of these theories? So that was the period when I was really fascinated. Where do we stand in the process of unification of quantum mechanics and general relativity? Too far away. Still too far away. What is Schrodinger's cat experiment? It's not an experiment. Okay, Schrodinger did not catch a cat, put in some case. It's not an experiment. It's a dramatic representation of some facts of quantum theory. It's just dramatizing the presentation, nothing like that. Okay. What is the most fascinating, weird but original way that you have learned, grasped a topic on lessons in any subject or even life? Depends on the person, I won't answer. Yes. Now the last question I am taking, there will be a break and then we will have some experiments activities, and after that we will resume with this. And this question which is in my hand is, what is physics exactly? It's like, what is God exactly? Okay. Physics is so vast and inclusive that you cannot define boundaries. You cannot define boundaries. So go by the common uses of the word. Okay? Go by the common uses of the word. Chemistry is more at atoms, molecule level, but physics doesn't leave that out. Biology is more on cells and other things, but physics doesn't leave that out. So physics is really pervading everything. Nothing, I don't know how I can make a boundary that this is not physics. Everything is physics. Everything is physics. But then of this, certain things are taken up by specialized person called chemistry people or biology people and so on. And what is still not taken away by these specialized groups is remaining physics. Okay, so we will break this session, and your questions are still here, so maybe we will resume after some time.